All right, this is recording. Hello, welcome to the channel. This is Prem. I'm a product designer by profession and I also make videos on the side. I'm currently working at Ather Energy. It's a two-wheeler electric scooter company based out of India. I'm currently recording this in Bangalore. There are a lot of construction noises outside. I hope that doesn't screw up with the audio. So coming to today's topic, I've been a product designer for the past 5 years and I wanted to talk about my journey. And why this topic? This question has been lingering in my mind for quite a while now. I've been wanting to make videos on design for a very, very long time because I love making videos and design is a field I've been a part of for a very long time. So it just seemed obvious, but the truth of the matter is I myself have learned design from the sources on the internet. So it felt like it would be somewhat just repurposing information from somewhere else through my videos to you. But in the same direction, I thought the most authentic thing I could do was talk about my journey. And through this, anyone who's interested in design can know about how design as a field has evolved, how opportunities have evolved, and what kind of projects could lead to what kind of job roles or the future projects that you could take up. And I myself have approached design through multiple angles. I've done an internship. I worked at full-time jobs. This is my third one now. For 2 years, I was full-time freelancing. And while I was working, I was also freelancing on the side. I've done some side projects which were completely my own, and I've designed for those projects myself. And I have tried to build products with the design knowledge I've had as well. Of course, those didn't work out as well as I want them to be. That's why I'm here making videos about design. Otherwise, I would be running companies. But anyone who's interested in design, I think could find value in this journey. And I'm going to go into details, a lot of details. I'm going to screen share, I'm going to show and tell, Excel sheets, Figma files, Medium articles, and a lot more. I'll get into all of those. So this video is going to be quite long. I don't know if it's going to be single part or multi parts, but year by year, I'm going to go into what kinds of projects I took up and where did those land me in the consequent years. So that's going to be the format of this video. It is going to be long, so grab a cup of coffee, beer, whatever you feel like, and save this for later if it's too long. Just to give you a quick overview of my experience so far, I picked up design in 2018, and within 5-6 months of me deciding to be a designer, I got a full-time job. So even before I got a full-time job, I went ahead and did an internship with ABNUX. He was then the head of design at Unacademy. So we worked on some side projects of his together, some videos, some design. Then I went ahead and did my first job in a company called Xtero. It was a product company building B2B products for the legal tech space in the US. It had offices back in India, in Coimbatore. After 1 year of working there, I moved to Bangalore to work in a startup called Open House. So this is an edtech platform, and if you had been following the startup news, edtech was at an all-time high at that point. There was great funding, there was a lot of talent, there were a lot of companies, and I actually got to see it from the front seat and actually build products in that space as well. So after 1 year of working at this startup Open House, I decided I'll try something else. And I just quit my job without a plan. For the next 2 years, I was full-time freelancing in product design, motion graphics, video editing, photography, filmmaking, and things around that. When freelancing becomes your only source of income, the dynamics totally change, and I'm going to get into it. So after 2 years of freelancing, I decided I've had enough of it. I'll get into the details again, what I liked and didn't like about freelancing full-time as a designer, and I decided to go for full-time roles. That's when Ather Energy happened. It's been 4.5 months now since I've been working at Ather Energy, and I'm working on the charging division of Ather Energy. So my job role is to make the user experience of charging a very new behavior for anyone who owns a two-wheeler. So how to make that experience seamless for everyone, understandable for everyone without getting into too many technicals. So that's what I'm currently working on, and I'm really liking the space. So without much further ado, Okay, that's such a monotonic statement to say. Let's just get into the journey. So I'm going to go year by year just to give you a quick glimpse of what I'm going to cover. Uh, it's this. So from 2018 to 2023, about 5 years now, these are the list of highlight projects that I have done, which got me where I am. And I'm going to talk about the things which didn't work out as well. Before I get into the details of the projects, just a disclaimer, this is just my personal journey. Every designer's journey will be different. Everyone's journey will be different. I was fast compared to some designers. I was very, very slow compared to a lot. So the objective of this video is not really to compare journeys. It's just to see a journey from up close with screenshots and Figma files so that you can get a realistic picture of what kind of projects can land you at what kind of places. Is that even grammatically right? Anyway, you got the point. So let's jump in. Coming to my first year. This was, by the way, in my final year of college. By this time already I was kind of freelancing in photography, video making and other things. If you want to check out that part of the journey, I've already made a video quite a long while back that I'm going to just link it here somewhere. But by this time I was kind of into this game of figuring out ways to get clients, working with them, and I was really liking it. And that's when I kind of fumbled upon this video of Saptarshi. Saptarshi is currently and also was at that time a designer at Swiggy. Now I think he's the design director at Swiggy. And there's this video of his which really caught my eye. So it's about motion design and micro interactions. So at that point I was already into motion graphics. I was doing After Effects, and there is this guy who's working in Swiggy and giving a talk about motion graphics in mobile applications. He works in tech, and I didn't really think this is a space that could be a real profession, and companies, big tech companies like Swiggy and the likes of it would hire someone with this expertise. I think in this video, this is where I first heard the term UI UX or product design, and that started a whole new journey of me going into Medium articles, case studies, understanding that okay, there is a field like this and this is what a person requires to get there. And by the way, this is way back in 2018, mid 2018 actually, and there was not a lot of content back then. Actual content on product design I think started coming in the late 2019. So at this point all I had was some Medium articles, occasional YouTube videos like this. So I was doing this research, slightly trying to understand this field, and at that point I also picked up HTML CSS, some very basic course, I don't even remember where, some EDX or Coursera somewhere, but I didn't dig deep into it. I got to understand the basic structure of how a web page or anything that is built on front end, how it works basically, what are divs, what is basically padding, how do you define all of this through code. So I think this helped me a bit in not only approaching design from a very designer perspective, but also from a developer perspective. So one side project that I took up was with a wrong notion that a product designer should be a good graphic designer. There was no one around to tell me that, yo, that's not really true. You can actually be a product designer without being a graphic designer. So I went ahead and started this particular challenge. If you look at this, I literally wrote, I'm going to challenge myself to make one illustration per day and upload it on this account. I aspire to become a UI UX designer, and this is a step forward. Some design principles will be followed throughout. There aren't any design principles apart from the color and the background that were followed. And this was honestly the best time I had looking back. do you have these times where you've given a lot into whatever you're working on, and you're for the next few years you're just chasing that feeling of just going all in into something? I'm still chasing the feeling which I had while while working on this challenge. So every day, one single illustration, and it took me overall 154 days to finish these 100 days, because after some 64th day, I broke my streak, and this was my final 100th illustration, which is just a khichdi of a lot of illustrations that I had done before. But by the end of this, I got really comfortable with Illustrator. That's the tool I picked, although I don't really use it anymore. I transitioned to Figma later, but I really got comfortable with moving pixels around and color palettes and some basic typography here and there. So this was my first project which I took up in the direction of becoming a UI UX designer. And I also took up a freelance project from a childhood friend of mine. I'm going to talk very little about this because this project bombed like crazy. I don't even have screenshots to share. The project was to design a website, and as I was doing it, probably I realized I don't have it in me to like design a full-fledged website that can go live, and that too it was for a shipyard company. But yeah, this is one of the projects I took up and I let go midway. And because it was my friend, like he also understood that I'm just beginning in this field, and I couldn't take it up. And this was partly the reason. And another reason was that placements were going on in campus at that point. And bro, I was just drawing rectangles all day with this 100 days of illustration thing. And yeah, I had to prioritize on some things. So Workline, the project stopped in the very initial stages. And it so happened out of luck that for my placements, there was one company for the first time. I was studying at IIT Madras. I was doing my mechanical engineering there. And to such an engineering focused company, there was never product design role. So there was this one company that registered in our placement portal for hiring a UI UX designer, a product designer. That's when I decided I'm not going to apply to anything else, just this one single company. If I don't get it, I'm going to apply off campus. So that was a decision I took, and I started preparing for that company, and I made a portfolio. I made a portfolio which is just truly horrible. I'm going to open that right now. I'll skim through really quick because there's not really any substance. I didn't have any product design projects. All I could just convey was, bro, I'm interested in this. I'm learning. I don't have anything to show, but I'm interested. So getting into it, I just gave a chronology of where my creativity started, because that's what I thought will land me a job, although nothing in this is related to product design so far. And I didn't have a website, but I had an idea of a website. At that time, I thought that would be enough, but I was just looking at it now before making this video, and let me show it to you. I just had thoughts on what different sections would be, and that's what I put in the portfolio with some random ass mock-ups that I think I did it in Illustrator. So there's a landing section, there is something about me, there's professional experience, and if you see, it's just description. There's nothing there. Nature of work, I don't even know what that means now. Some personal projects and contact. That's it. That was my whole portfolio in product design. And if you observe closely, there is a scroll icon which is not there at the end of the website, because the website ends there and you can't scroll. So that's the level of product design or UI UX design I knew at that point. And I talked about my 100 days of design challenge as well. And I remember on my 53rd day of this product design, of this 100 days of illustration challenge, I got placed. So that was a good memory. And I also talked about some freelance videos that I've done, which come slightly close to designing something, because it has to deal with vectors moving around on the screen. So that's what I put. And I also talked about my YouTube videos for a bit. That's it. I think I'll have to hide this number, but anyway, screw it. So that was basically my first portfolio. Now, looking back, I don't think with this kind of portfolio I'll get a job anywhere now. But I think I've prepared well enough for the interview. I've researched a great deal about the company. I try to understand their products and just build a common sense around what they're trying to do as a company and what value they're trying to offer. And during the interview process, the crux of the interview was this assignment that they gave about a product that they wanted to be redesigned, or I think adding a feature on top of what already existed. So they gave us about 2 hours, and they gave us some rooms right in our campus to just go do this assignment alone, and we had to come back and walk the interviewer through the entire process. I don't remember most of it. It's been like 4+ years since that interview happened, but luckily I got hired. They just hired one person for product design and one person for product management from our college. After this interview, they were about 6 months before I joined a job. And I really didn't want to waste my time doing nothing else because I just picked up this new field and it was really exciting. I really wanted to do some internship before even I joined a job so that I could do my job better as well with some more experience. Even before this interview happened and this job happened, I started hunting for internship opportunities. So I'm going to show you that sheet which I used to track all my applications to all these companies. So this is where I used to track all of it. So I applied to almost 30+ companies here. And by the way, before this, I was a part of the placement team of our campus, which was basically a group of students reaching out to companies representing IIT Madras and inviting them to our campus placements. So what this experience actually taught me was to maintain leads, track them rigorously, and write good emails which convey what I want to convey efficiently, because you're dealing with busy people at big companies. And I remember every day I used to go to the library, work on my illustration, learn about product design, apply to these companies as well, sending them emails, following up with calls, and literally every one of this is a rejection until the internship opportunity with ABNUX happened. So that's a funny story actually. I reached out to ABNUX not knowing that he was already starting to make content on product design, and he was then the design lead at Unacademy. And I just reached out to him if there was an internship opportunity there at Unacademy. And let me show you the initial conversations that happened there. It's actually funny. I have it open here. So my message was, hey, I'm Prem. I do graphic design, motion graphics, video making and photography, and I am looking for a UI UX internship. And if there's any opportunities, here's my resume. And Abhinav responded that he liked my work, and he actually asked me, have you gone through my stuff, or is this like a cold email right now? I told him it's not a cold email, but that's not entirely true, because I was literally applying to all these people and I didn't really get to dig into Abhinav's profile a lot. But I told him I would go through all his resources and get back. And that's when I realized he actually wrote a book on freelancing called Pajama Profit along with Varun Maya. And I ordered that book immediately, got it the next day, read it in a day, my record speed of reading a book ever. And I shot him an email saying like, bro, this is actually great. Like, reading that book was really the first time I could relate to someone freelancing, because no one around me was freelancing in the fields that I was freelancing in. And this book was literally talking to a friend who was somewhere freelancing in Manipal and right now working at a huge startup and leading a design team there. I would highly recommend anyone starting out reading that book. It's just a beautiful account of how Abhinav's and Varun's freelancing careers have been while they were in college and how that led to them doing whatever they're doing now. So I shot him a mail talking about the points I liked, and before even I could ask about an internship, he replied back saying, hey, like I'm thinking about these projects. Do you wanna intern with me? I'm planning some videos as well. Since you're into videos, let's make some videos together. And what better way for you to learn about design than actually working with me on some side projects that I'm taking up. So this internship got confirmed, and a couple of weeks later, my placements were done, and I immediately went to Bangalore. And this was one of the most beautiful experiences I've had. So Abhinav was already doing some design content, which I was also learning from, by the way. And I think these three videos are the ones which I shot while I was there. And I also got to meet Varun Maya, who is 2x founder now. He literally just yesterday news came out that he his second startup got acquired by Graphy, a company that's owned by Unacademy, and we did a video on augmented reality as well. And I also got to do some design work on the very beginning stages of UI Sources. UI Sources is a side project of Abhinav, and I remember I was researching some Chinese apps, video calling apps, marketplaces, and super apps, and I was screenshotting them, putting them in Google Translate, understanding what the screens were about, understanding the design language, understanding the flows, etc. And that was pretty much my work. I don't exactly know how much of the work I did went into UI Sources, but I learned a lot doing that research with Abhinav's guidance. I worked out of WeWork. Abhinav got. Let me just fanboy over Abhinav for a while because he's one of the greatest influences I've had on my career and just thought process in general. This man's content diet is huge. He knows a lot of things about a lot of things, and that too in great detail. And by the way, my mind was too closed back then to even understand the amount of information I was receiving. I'm still unfolding it, by the way. It also made me meet a lot of designers. I got to meet Suraj Bharti, who was then the design lead at Urban Ladder, and I got to meet someone else called Sankalp Sinha, who was a remote designer for a very long time, and I understood how that space works. And I also got to meet Saptarshi Prakash, whose design video I saw in the beginning of my product design journey. And I also got to meet Varun Maya. It was an interesting conversation with him. And Abhinav himself redefined himself a lot over these years, over the past 4 years. And it was crazy to witness that journey from a distance. And the cohort that he's running right now, 10K designers, I remember the initial conversations that he was talking about on how there are some gaps in the industry that can be filled and how he wants to fill it. And right now, he's 6 cohorts done. He is starting his 7th cohort literally this weekend in the next 2 days. And as it turns out, he was kind enough to invite me as a mentor for the 7th cohort as an industry mentor. And I'm actually looking forward to helping out designers early in their journey. And also in this internship, guys, let me tell you, like, I worked out of WeWork. Until then, I just stayed in a shitty hostel room for 4 or 5 years. And then WeWork. Everything was beautiful there. I actually made a video on my routine at WeWork, and it was one of the best experiences I had. Like, there were Bose speakers in the washrooms. There was beer on tap every evening. This was before WeWork went down, of course. And not just that, while I was working out of WeWork, there were instances where other founders used to come and see that I was editing footage. They asked me what other work I've done. And I actually made a long-term client. Their name is Pushal. Over the years, they've also grown really, really big, being a small team, and they recently got acquired for around $20 million, if I'm not wrong. For me, coming from a world of engineering, and while engineering was going on, I was exploring these other fields by myself, content creation, video editing, and design eventually. For me, the internship just expanded my horizons. I'm always thankful to Abhinav for that. I'm actually looking forward to interacting with all the design enthusiasts in cohort 7 and helping them in whichever way I can. I'm also really looking forward to learn from whatever Abhinav and his team have got to teach. There are a lot of gaps I want to fill in my design understanding, and really excited. I think this is where I'll end this video. This was my first year. I think setting this context has taken more time. I'll try to condense the information in the coming videos. Let me know if the space is good or if I can go into more details, if it is valuable at all. So that was 2018. It ended literally with Abhinav's internship. I spent New Year's in Bangalore, and 1 2 weeks later I went back to my college. There are 4 more years to cover. I'll be doing them in the subsequent videos. I hope you enjoyed this video and got something valuable out of it. If there are other design enthusiasts that you know that could benefit from this video, do share, like, subscribe, do all that shit. I think I'm close to 2K subscribers right now, so let's get there. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video, and I'll be covering the subsequent years of my design journey until now. See you.